Hi, welcome to another Mindful Mutt Moments. Wow, we're almost done. We've been doing one of these every day for the whole month of April. And it's nice to share this time with you. So we're getting close to to the end here. And hopefully we're also getting close to the end of this quarantine, stay at home kind of thing. And eventually we will all have to be getting back to work and back to our activities, and that means coming and going. And our dogs have really probably loved and enjoyed so much this extra time we've spent with them. And I do hope, and I'll be saying this again, but I do hope that these mindful moments, these moments of connection on our dog's level is really helpful for you and helpful for them to sort of ease some of that stress that we're all going through. And I know they've loved it, because when we become mindful with them, when we join with them in the present moment and just feel how our dogs feel under our palms and just savor and embrace the moment that we have together as friends, as that's what we should be doing as friends, it's really a healing process for both of us. What's going to start to happen, though, is when we start going back to our lives, as whenever that may be, our dogs are going to start to notice that, and they're going to start to get it's going to be different again, because it's been so long that we've been with them that all of a sudden now we're going to start to leave, and they're going to start to get a little upset and anxious at that point, and so are we, frankly. But fortunately, what we're doing with our dogs, these mindful things, actually help to secure it. Now, I'm sure all of you have heard the term separation anxiety or separation anxiety disorder, which is the actual correct terminology for it. I've been working with separation anxiety for my whole career, basically, spanning 35 plus years. And I see an awful lot of sort of these tips and techniques for ending this or for helping our dogs. And to be honest with you, most of them are not really that effective, and most of them really don't get to the heart of the problem. When one of the things that's quite often used is giving our dogs distractions. So when we leave, we give them a big bone with peanut butter in it, or a toy with stuff on that, or something to kind of distract them when we leave. And yes, it could work for a few moments, but be honest with you, and you know this, they're not going to be sitting there 5 hours with that. So that in the long term may have some limited success, but really doesn't get to the root. It just kind of cures some of the symptoms, but doesn't get to the root. The other thing that I see a lot is the confinement and the caging. Now that may work really well to keep your dog away from destroying things and hurting themselves. Make sure you have a really durable cage for them, because I've seen dogs really injure themselves trying to get out of it. But regardless of that, it really doesn't change how they feel. It just locks them away in a box so they can't hurt themselves and they can't hurt your things. Now I understand that sometimes is very, very necessary, especially in the short term. But in the long term, that's only going to add more anxiety. It's only going to add more stress and more disruption to their lives. Then they're going to say, well, when you're not here, I'm imprisoned. So yes, there are uses for it, and it is important. I'm not suggesting that if you've been doing it, all of a sudden you let your dogs out. But there is a way to get to the heart of separation anxiety and the heart of this without having to use these external kind of Band-Aids and sort of these other things to just get rid of the symptoms. We want to get to the disease. We want to heal what's going on, not just use sort of little fancy techniques and stuff just to kind of temporarily solve some of the issues there. What our dogs need to know, and our dogs need to feel absolutely safe and secure, that when we are not with them, we're still in fact with them and we're coming back. It's really the heart of the whole thing. It's really about having that secure attachment. So when we're sitting and we're being mindful with our dogs, and we're petting them, and we're just engaged and immersed in the moment with them as friends, without evaluating them, without labeling them, without judging them. We're just on the same page with them in the experiential domain rather than in the thinking domain. We are really connected and attached. And doing these mindful moments every day, as I hope you have, and I hope you'll continue even after these videos are done, that you really are solidifying that attachment and that security. In fact, what you're doing is you're creating the friendship that you have with your dog as a form of a sanctuary, and a sanctuary for both for you and your dog, and that's where you're safest. And in that sanctuary, that is something that happens from the inside out. See, a lot of these other techniques work from the outside in. What really works is to grow these things from the security, the inside out, and make them feel secure and safe, whether you're there and whether you're not there. So there are a few ways of doing this. Well, one is to do exactly what we've been doing and spending these times with your dog to know that they are safe in your presence. If your dog has some difficulty with you leaving, you have to begin to show them that it's safe and that they can be certain that you will still be there and come back. So one thing, as we're petting our dogs, once in a while, we can kind of stop and stop petting. And now Bodhi's very secure, so he's not going to look up. But sometimes our dog will kind of look up at us and make sure we're still there. And of course we want to look back at them and remember to smile and feel that tenderness and go back to petting them. And then maybe stop again, they look up, and then go back to petting them. And in a very small way, what you're saying to your dog at that point is, even though I'm not touching you or not here, I'm going to come back and I'm still safe. And if that works, what you can start to even do, if you like, and it's not 100% necessary, but you can use a trigger word. Now, we touched a little bit on triggers and glimmers, and those are terms that come from polyvagal theory. And if you remember polyvagal theory, a trigger is something that activates either our fight or flight, the adrenaline, or even the sort of the freeze and the shutdown of the sort of the ventral, the dorsal vagal nerve, where we're just absolutely helpless. But there's also a glimmer, which is sort of a trigger for the safety and security that activates the ventral vagal nerve. And I know that's oversimplifying this whole thing, but just for these videos, that should be enough. And we want to put in these glimmers, these triggers of safety. You're safe. So we can do it with a word. We can say something like, you're safe. I like to actually use the word stay, because stay really means, for my dogs, you're safe, stay here, I'll be back. That's really what it means. So even if I'm doing this, I can go stay and move my hand away and come back. And I'm being honest. I'm saying stay and then I'm coming back. We can begin to gradually increase that. So you can say stay and maybe get up and move away and then come back and pet. And there's no training here. We're not going to say no, bad dog. It's just not the obedience stay, which is like, you have to stay and freeze until I tell you what else to do. No, this is the safety stay. This means you're safe, you're fine. So, for example, when I leave when this thing is over and before all this pandemic started, if I had to leave and didn't take my dogs with me, I would always tell them, all right, you guys, you stay. And then I come back later in the day, and of course I don't expect them to be in that same position that they were in 6 hours earlier. But what that stay meant to them is, he's giving us that safety word, that glimmer of security, and that we're safe until we come back. And that helps alleviate the anxiety. And you're doing the same thing here, but even saying stay and just moving away and coming back. And you can build up a little bit to it, and build up and show them, yes, you're fine. So all those other ways with the distraction and stuff, that doesn't get your dog to actually deal with or process or change how they feel or grow how they feel from the inside. Those are sort of external ways of just sort of alleviating certain symptoms, but not curing the actual division itself and healing the disease itself of that anxiety. So doing it this way, telling them to stay and move away and come back, what you're really doing is you're using these mindful connections to help grow that attachment and make it so secure that nothing could ever break it up, not even being apart, and you're with them always with that. And I want to make sure I have time. There's one other part of this, and this is about being apart, and this is, it's a difficult thing to go into, but this is when we have to ultimately be apart from each other for the last time. And all of us who have had dogs as friends and who will always have dogs as friends, we know that chances are we're going to be outliving them. We're going to be here after they've gone. And it's one of the hardest parts of having a dog, which is why these mindful moments are so incredibly, in my opinion, important. Because when we're with them and we're with them in the present, and where our heads aren't someplace else, but we're focused and giving them the attention, we're not missing anything. We're savoring every last moment we have together. And each moment that we spend with our dogs, we must savor that, whether it's the first moment or the last moment. And as difficult as it is when I have to say goodbye, and I haven't in a few years, these guys are young, but I know recently family and friends have had to say goodbye to their friends. And what's comforting to me is knowing that if we can provide this time for our dogs and be thoroughly present and make sure that they are secure in our attachment, that they never have to go through and endure losing us. It's our burden to bear is to lose them. And so even at their last moments, they are attached and connected to us. And in that way, even when they're gone, they're still with us. And I know that's an old saying, we've always heard that before, but being mindful and being connected with our dogs in this way means they'll always be with us. We never replace them. The friends that I've had, even for years and years and years ago, still occupy parts of my heart that will never change. And it's only when we're connected on this level, on the equal level, that it really integrates and forms and weaves into our souls and our minds and our hearts like nothing else. So whether you're taking a mindful moment or even if it's the final moment, these are the times to really savor and enjoy and be at their level. And I would also, right now, just going back to what I said earlier, is just work a little in getting your dogs to understand and feel secure that if when you move away, when you walk away, and you'll be coming back, whether it's 2 minutes, 20 minutes, 2 hours or more, it's okay. You'll be there. And when we have these moments together, we're forming that glue and forming those strands that connect us no matter how great apart, because the distance won't separate us and the time won't separate us if these strands of mindful friendship are always woven into each other. So, practice that, enjoy the moments with your dog, and we'll see you on the next one. All right, bye now.